Hey everybody, Vinny SOB, and I'm here to do a doctrine overview for an old doctrine, actually one of the first doctrines. It's the U.S. Airborne Doctrine. Uh, I don't think I've ever done an overview of this, and I do play it a lot. It is actually my favorite. There are some things in this doctrine, because it is one of the originals, that they'll eventually go back and do some fixing. And for anyone who hasn't played Wikinger mod in a long time, some things have changed within this doctrine. So, first things first, though, when you pick the Airborne Doctrine, which I've already done here, first thing I like to do is take a look at the buildings. So, what happens after you pick Airborne is really nothing in the first building. You have standard engineers, riflemen, 30 cal, 50 cal, your truck, your vehicle that lets you supply your guys out in the field, your headquarters, and of course your forward headquarters and your medic. Now, when this when the doctrine starts off early on, you can build all of these things except for, of course, the forward headquarters, which you have to also have the platoon command post and the company command post, but also the 50 cal, which also requires platoon command post, and it may require the company command post. I don't really remember, but you at least need to have the platoon command post to be able to pull the 50 cal out. All right, you look in the second building, and you're going to see here, it's there's no vehicle crews. There really isn't a whole lot that's available early on. You do get a troop that is available once platoon command post is unlocked, is the 101st Airborne Paratrooper team. And I'm going to go ahead and build a set of those. You can, of course, build your 57mm anti-tank guns, an 81mm mortar team, and you can build a sniper, and I think you can build 2 of these total. But you do see there are a few things that are blacked out. These will need to be unlocked via the tech tree. So, again, you can build your 101st Airborne Paratrooper AT team.
Drop complete.
And let's grab them up here. A couple things you're going to notice about them is, like, number one, they come out with a veteran star already. They can go up to 4 stars. They start with a star, which is nice. They are airborne troops. You can give them the medical kit upgrade. They, just like any other AT team, they can go into the ambush tactic, but these guys can throw a grenade, which makes them more effective against other infantry. And you'll see here they are a 5-man squad instead of a 4-man squad, and they have 3 bazookas instead of 2. So there are 3 bazookas here. So these guys are very deadly against tanks. And now the other 2 guys that don't have bazookas, they just have M1 carbines. But again, they can sneak. They do have 3 bazookas. They are a 5-man squad, and they do have the ability to throw a grenade. So they can fight other troops. They are not the best at doing it, because 2 carbines and 3 bazookas doesn't usually do very well against a squad of 6 that has rifles or whatever kind of weaponry. So these guys are pretty specifically designed to take on tanks, obviously. Alright, so we'll get back to the things we have to unlock in here. And we'll go on to the next building, which is the company command post. Real quick, back to the platoon command post. As I said, there's no vehicle squad, so there's no vehicle crews you can build in this doctrine. And you notice there is no officer. Now, normally, I have an officer already built. I do not have it here. So they do not have the standard officer troop. They will have an officer that has some abilities, but he's more of a fighting troop, and we'll get into him a little later. But you do not have that standard officer that you can use to supervise your buildings and make things build quicker, which kind of sucks, but it is also understandable because you get old Croc here as a hero unit, which is an officer. So anyway, moving back over to the company command post. Just pretty general stuff here. You have your ambulance, your half track for transport, your AA half track, and this is the version that has the cannons and the, in fact, I have one here built.
Boys, you ready to roll out?
It is the version that has the cannons and the 50 cals. So it's deadly, but it can only fire backwards into the sides. Unlike Armor Doc, who actually I think is the only one that has the quad 50 that can run around and shoot in all directions while moving around. So at any rate, you do not have any mortar half track here. So that is definitely missing. You can get the utility car, which has very few abilities. It can lay mines, lay smoke, but it's really more of a vision piece. And make Greyhound, and you can make Stewarts. Okay, so you have these pretty general vehicles. None of them have any special abilities or anything under this doctrine. And again, there are like no mortar half tracks, no anything else at all really. So moving on to the battalion command post, you notice there is no heavy battalion command post unlock. You can make a repair station if you choose, and of course the platoon command post, you can create the medical building upgrade. But yeah, so there's no heavy command post upgrade here, and you notice there's only one tank, and it is the M4A3 Sherman medium tank. Great tank, really one of the best tanks in the game overall. It's a little expensive in this doctrine. It's $390. Because this doctrine really doesn't focus on tanks. It doesn't hurt to have them out there because, as you know, the 75mm Sherman is good. It can fight, really, it can fight most tanks, and especially at close range. And it's just a really versatile tank, and you can switch between high explosives and armor piercing, and pretty much do whatever role you need, whether it's anti-infantry or anti-vehicle.
Looks like
But
we're
again,
getting into the
they're
excitement.
expensive here. They only go up to level 3 here, so you're not going to get any, level 4 or 5 tanks in this doctrine. These guys are already leveled up because I've been using them as a defensive piece. But you can put either the commander or the 50 cal on. I have the 50 cal here. You can do the HE, the bulldozer upgrade, which can create these piles of dirt, which are give you green cover. And they do have the smoke screen launcher.
Discharge smoke.
Let's see if there's anything. Oh, and a pretty cool thing about these tanks, like I said, is because they're kind of multi-role. You can click on HE, and they will just fire HE all the time until you click them back to armor piercing, which is pretty nice. So other tanks, you only get a few seconds of HE. On the Shermans, you can just leave them on HE and use them in a support role to support infantry and take out bunkers, things of that nature.
Loader,
Put them back to armor piercing just in case. Okay. So that's what's in your buildings, and there's really nothing in any of these 3 buildings here that airborne related. The only one that really has anything airborne related is, of course, your platoon command post, which I said you do have the 101st Airborne Paratrooper team, which we've taken a look at, or anti-tank team, and you do have these 3 that are blacked out. So let's go ahead and take a look at the tech tree. And the tech tree in this doctrine, you're going to see you have a pretty wide variety of troops that are in the actual tech tree itself, because not all of them are going to come from these buildings. Some are airdroppable. But what we're going to do first is start off in this little bitty tech tree here, which has 2 troops. The first troop is the 501st Intelligence Section, which says it's 450 manpower. It is not. It's like 120 or something. This is, like I said, these old doctrines, a few of these things just need to be back and corrected. But what this thing is a pure piece for vision. So I went ahead and unlocked it, and you see now it pops up in the platoon command post. It's 120 manpower, so it is a pretty cheap piece. I'm going to go ahead and build one. And this is where it really sucks to not have one of the officers that can do, supervise, where they can make things build faster. But, I mean, they still build relatively quickly anyway.
Pathfinders reporting in.
So here they do. They come in. I think I don't know how many you can build of these. You could probably build at least, well, obviously you could build at least 2. But this is what your vision piece really is. Again, you can build the utility car for 220. It has more fighting capability than this 501st Intelligence Section, but it is visible. Whereas this troop, it can do the evasive action, so it can go invisible.
We're moving.
You can give it a health kit here. But not only that,
Get ready to jump off.
besides that, you can put it in binocular mode, and it will also go invisible. So it's a cheap way to get your troops out there.
Get the lead out.
and use them for vision. And I typically use these over the scout cars. They're not good at fighting. They don't have a grenade ability. I mean, they can't throw a grenade. They have 3 M1 carbines, and it's only a 3-man squad. So they, you know, and this is an older doctrine, so it doesn't have like a hold fire or hold facing like some of the newer doctrines do. And I'm sure, you know, when they go back and redo all these older doctrines, they'll add those things. It's not really necessary in this. These guys are pretty good about laying in the direction you face them. But these guys can see cloaked units. They are that type of piece. And again, they're cheap, and they I think they're just the better alternative to the scout car. So get them in. You get them in where you have to put them. You face them, and you put the binoculars on. They're going to get down, and they will go invisible. And I think that's the biggest advantage is they're invisible. So now they're spotting. They can see super far. So it's purely a vision piece. Do not try to fight with it because you're going to be sorely disappointed. The other thing in this little tech tree, which is kind of, I guess, a more utility tree for troops, is Old Croc. Now this is, I don't know if you ever heard of McAuliffe. He was a badass with the Airborne. There's some really cool documentaries out there and things. But you can unlock him. He is going to be a little more expensive. And he does build, here he is right here in your normal officer spot that would be here in your little placard. So go ahead and click him. He's 520. And we'll let him build up here real quick. And he is going to be your officer troop. So he does do things like, you know, inspire the other troops, give them their bonuses. He can withdraw units from the battlefield, which is an important thing. Like if you have vehicle crews laying around after tanks are blowing up, or you just want to upgrade to whatever troops, or get rid of anti-tank guns, or whatever it is. I mean, you know how it works. But he does have that ability, which is pretty important with an officer. He also does have an officer, I think it's called On Me, where it breaks suppression and gives everyone a defensive and offensive bonus. Now you'll see he is a hero unit. He comes in at level 1. He can go to level 4. I wish he could go to level 5 because he is a hero unit. There he is right there in the front in his coat. And what you'll see here, this is a 6-man squad, so it's not your typical officer squad. It is a fully functional battle unit. So even if he did have the thing that helps you supervise buildings, you're probably not going to leave him laying around the base anyway. He's just too deadly. So all of these guys, these are 6 guys, with 5 of them have Thompsons, super deadly, and then 1 of them has a sniper rifle. So these guys are very effective troop. You can give them the health pack upgrade. They cannot do evasive action, but, and this goes for any of the airborne troops, if you put them in cover of any sort, they will camouflage. So they're all basically elite troops, all of these airbornes. So they will go into camouflage. But this guy also has the sniper ability, the marksman ability. And you can see it's got a pretty good range. So that's pretty nice. Again, he can withdraw troops. He has the On Me, which will give your guys buffs while they're fighting. He does also have an off-map 81mm mortar barrage call-in. So he used to have another call-in for like a big 105mm, but he doesn't have that anymore. This 81mm call-in, again, this guy has pretty good range. You can see the green circle on the mini-map here. So he's got pretty good range with this thing. He cannot call it into the base, though. So something they did away with. And none of these airborne units, like the planes or this, can call it into the base area. Okay? So he will not be able to do that. So let's move him up. What the hell did I do with him? Let's just find him right here. There we go. Move him up here. Let him, help the troops out. Alright, so there we go. That little utility tech tree's there. I'm almost surprised they didn't put the next troop here on the big part of the tech tree. Put it in the utility section. And that's the Pathfinders. And what these guys are, they're cheap, but they are a squad that can be airdropped in to drop beacons so that you can reinforce your airborne troops at the beacon. So we'll go ahead and unlock them real quick. And you see they do not come out of a building. They're right here as an airdrop. So you can take them. You could drop them anywhere in the enemy base, in the darkness. You don't need to, in the fog of war. You don't have to worry about any of that. You just take them, drop them, and if you're in a bad place, you see how big that circle gets. There's a good chance they can be killed, landing in trees and stuff. But we'll just get them right here.
Airborne assault commencing. Stand
And
by.
they come in pretty quickly. Here they come. They're a 4-man squad. They all make it to the ground, which they do. Alright, so we'll take a look at them. They can get the medic pack upgrade
Pathfinders ready for action.
if you're by a base. In fact, I have a forward
Let's get this show on the road.
base. Let's give them that. These guys do have a grenade ability. There are 4 of them. They all have M1 carbines, I believe. Yes. So they can fight, but they are not a good fighting troop. There's only 4 of them. The M1 carbines are nothing super special. They're just really not designed for fighting. They can help supplement some other guys if they're fighting, but...
Crew ready.
This real quick.
Crew, get on it.
But their main... They can throw a grenade, too, so, I mean, they can fight. They do have evasive action. So you can creep them around and kind of use them to get some vision and, you know, inside, you know, in some enemy territory, but it's not like a huge field of vision. It's not binocular style like the 501st. You know, these guys are pretty much here to build this beacon. This is what they're here to do. So you go with these guys and you set up a beacon. I'll just set it up right here.
Set up the monitors here. Hurry it up.
And let them set that up here. Once they do that, you're going to be able to paradrop in a real nice little tight area on the beacon, which is nice. So your troops will fall nice and close together. The other thing is, again, you can reinforce your airborne troops. Not all of the airborne troops, ironically, can be reinforced at the beacon. Let's get these guys out of here. Just put them here in place of action. These 501st, believe it or not, if they lose guys, for some reason they cannot reinforce at this beacon. All the other airborne troops can. You know, these anti-tank guys that I left over here somewhere. Where are they at? It's right here.
Looks like we're going in.
So these guys, they can reinforce at the beacon. You know, this old crook, his guys can reinforce. So it's pretty cool. Oh, they're mounting a little bit of whatever here. Let's put these guys here. Alright, so there you have it. That's the first airdrop piece. So continuing along that same track here on the top for these units, the next piece is an 82nd Airborne Engineer. These guys are expensive, but they are a very deadly piece, and they do also serve a function. They are 2 points to unlock. So here I've unlocked them, and I'm going to drop them, and you can see the circle is normal. You get it, where did I put that? You get it on the beacon, and look how tight that circle is. These guys will drop in a nice tight area. They should all survive. So that's pretty cool.
Snap to it. Go. Floor it.
Here they come, dropping in. There they go. Now this is a 6-man squad.
Get us the fuck out of here.
Enemy tank is cutting us off.
Serial down.
This is a 6-man squad. They do come in. I'm sorry, I thought I had them selected. I have the tank selected. They do come in at vet level 1. They can go up to vet level 4. Just like other airborne, they will camouflage automatically if they're in any kind of cover. They do have evasive action.
Enemy
They
neutralized.
can get a medic pack. They can throw a grenade, obviously. They do have a sticky bomb, which makes them pretty good against tanks. They also can throw a satchel charge, which makes them good against emplacements, things of that nature. Very specifically because they can sneak up. They don't have a smoke grenade, which kind of sucks. but they can sneak up with their evasive action, and then,
We've been promoted.
you know, throw that satchel charge and like blow up a bunker or something like that. So the other cool thing with these guys is they come, as you can see that little emblem they have here, they have a shotgun, which has a nice big spread. It's great at close range, and the rest of the guys are all Thompsons. So these are another, like Old Croc, these are another group of guys that are excellent at close range. They can do some serious damage at close range. Oh shit.
Go! Drive! We need a smoke screen. Move it!
Oh, sorry, this was not planned.
Crew, get on it.
I need to repair this. Since they're mounting a bunch of guys over there, I just need to repair it. Now, you will see that when you click on these 82nd Airborne Engineers, they can't repair vehicles. They cannot. So that is something they cannot do. The biggest thing they can do, that, besides being a great fighting troop, and you can only build one of them, is they can build they can drop mines, build, you know, minor fighting hole here with you can put a 50 cal in, sandbag slit trenches, you know, campfires, and they can build the forward airborne HQ. So that's something that only they can do, and it is something that's pretty specifically important to this doctrine, right? So I'm going to go ahead and build that. While we're waiting, we'll take a look at the next troop. Next troop along the top here is your 82nd Airborne Parachute Infantry. Now these guys are 2 points. They are expensive. They're $850. But you can drop, when they drop in, they're almost like a battle group because you get 3 sets of these guys. So I'm going to go ahead. Where's that beacon? I'll just drop all 3 sets right here.
Friendly paratroopers jumping in.
These are another airdrop piece. So the ones that aren't in the building, obviously, are airdrop piece. Except for one, and we'll go over that in a little bit. So look, all of them made it down a nice tight group. Now these 82nd Airborne, they're a 6-man squad. All 3 of them come down. They're 6-man squads. They can all get the medic kit upgrades. The other thing they can get is 2 M1 Grands. So for giving them long range, because what they come standard with is 5 M1 carbines and 1 Thompson. So they're good for close to medium range. So all 3 of them together would give you 3 Thompsons. And I usually keep these guys together in a group. And you can see they're already camouflaged with just being in cover. These guys do get a smoke grenade, which makes them great for assaulting. They can go with the evasive action, which is nice. You can, and I usually have them in evasive action somewhere, ambushing. They're just a really good troop. They can go up to level 4. They do not come with a 1-star veteran level, but you can definitely get them up there pretty quick. They're pretty badass guys. Also, each one of these groups has a bazooka, but they don't carry it. They pull it off their back. Same thing with like these engineers here, these combat engineers that drop. They pull, so they always have a gun, so they're great at fighting troops. So when the vehicles come, they pull the bazooka out, and then they use it to fight against vehicles. So it makes them a little more effective against troops than just having a bazooka always out and 1 less rifle shooting. So a lot of times I will keep these guys all together, these 3 pieces here, the 82nd Airborne drop, and this engineer, because they can all go evasive action, and I'll keep them all together like that and creep them around and just do some serious damage. And I'll sometimes use these 101st paratrooper teams in the group. It's a pretty deadly combo when you get all that stuff, and especially if you keep one of these Pathfinders with it, because then they can always build a beacon, and you can build up to 3 beacons. So, you know, if you're creeping in, you can build a beacon. Actually, you can build their beacon in their territory, not only their base, but any of their territories. which normally you cannot do. So the Airborne also has that unique ability that they can build things in enemy territory because they're designed to be dropped in enemy territory. And one thing I didn't go over with these 82nd Airborne Paradrop here is they do have a little build icon here, the field defenses. They can build fires, but they can also build foxholes. These foxholes cannot get the 50 cal upgrade, but you can build them anywhere. Like I said, even in enemy territory. So you drop in, let's say you take over their fuel point, you put one of these foxholes down, and you have these guys build it. Let's have them help him. Just try to get it done super fast. I don't know if this guy can help. No, he can't. They build it, and you go ahead and you stick these guys in there, or you can build 3 of them, you know, whatever, and then stick them all in there. When they get inside this foxhole, they now have green cover from all directions. So it is it is pretty handy. All right, well, enough about those guys. We're going to move down a little further to the final upgrade on the top here, and as usual, this top right at the end of a part of a tech tree is usually the most expensive and really deadly. This is 101st Airborne Easy Company. Now, these guys are 1150.
Air resupply is now available.
And they are not parachuted in. They actually come in 2 half tracks. So we're going to go ahead and call them in. Call them in right here.
Airborne on the ground. Half track.
These guys are expensive, but these are your troops that can become the most elite. They come in already at level 1. They come in a level 1 half track with a 50 cal. So they can get places quick because they're driving in a half track, obviously. The level 1 50 cal half track with the 50 cal will, shoot at troops and stuff, which is nice. But let's go ahead and kick these guys out. One thing you're going to see here with these guys is they can go up to level 5, which is the only troops in this whole doctrine that can go up to level 5, which is, most troops can't. I mean, there's a few German troops that can, but these are an American troop that can go up to level 5. They come standard with a 30 cal and a bar automatically, all right? You can upgrade them if you're near like a forward base or something like this. You can upgrade them with an STG-44 and of course their health packs. So these guys, they, like the other airborne troops, will camouflage when they're sitting still. They are really deadly against other troops. As I said, you have a bar, you have an M1 Grand, you have a Thompson, you have an STG-44, you have a 30 cal. I mean, these guys are just really, really badasses. They can fight from the half track too, which is nice. These guys do not have evasive action. These guys are not meant to be, sneaking around with your other airborne dropping guys. There is an unlock that you're going to get on the tech tree that will allow them to also have 3 captured Panzerfaust 60, so you can shoot 3 of these. Once the 3's done, you're out of them, but that's, that's that. These guys can also throw a dynamite charge. Now, again, these guys do not have evasive action, so you're not going to be able to creep up and whip a dynamite charge. You can drive up in the truck. You can't throw it from in the truck. It's not something you can do. But you can get them there, get them out of there, and then have them throw the dynamite. And dynamite's pretty deadly stuff. In fact, I tried earlier with a time charge to blow up these stupid bricks that are in the way here. Let's see what a dynamite charge does to it, because I'm very interested to see. And let's hope I don't kill old Croc or my medics in the process. Throw it!
Grenade!
Get the hell out of there! Oh no. No, okay. Well, I guess this is an indestructible barrier from detonations because I've done it now with a couple different things. But at any rate, so these guys are badasses. And another weird thing, and I don't know if it's supposed to be this way, these guys cannot reinforce from a beacon, even though they're airborne. Don't know why. Maybe that's something they have to correct. Maybe it's because in Wikinger you cannot reinforce from half tracks like in other, in vanilla. They got rid of that ability, which I love, actually. But maybe you used to be able to reinforce from the half track, so they just didn't bother to have them do it at the beacon. But we'll, you know, I'm sure that'll be something that'll be addressed. But at any rate, so that's a really badass troop, as I showed. Now there are some more things branching off of this, you know, tech tree up top here, and we'll go back to the engineers, because the engineer part of the tech tree. If you remember, I had them build this forward, airborne forward headquarters. This can be a retreat point and a reinforce point. You can reinforce troops from it, which is nice. You can have them retreat to it. And you can see there's a bunch of stuff blacked out, which you have to unlock on the tech tree. So early on, you can use it basically like an ambulance, and you plant it somewhere up close. It's, you know, only I think $300 or whatever, I think, to build it. And then you can use it as a retreat point, reinforce your troops. It's still very handy. But if you look under the engineer here on this little part of the tech tree, there's weapons support unlock. So what this is going to do is give you those captured Panzerfaust for your easy company, and it's going to give you the ability to airdrop a bunch of crap down. So let's go ahead and we'll get that. So now you click on this, and you'll see you can drop medical supplies, which is basically buffs your troops. You can drop 57mm AT guns. You can drop the 75mm howitzer. You can drop a 60mm mortar, which is a smaller mortar than the 81 that you have normally if you build it out of the base. And you can drop 50 cals. So when you drop any of this stuff, which you have a decent amount of distance to be able to drop it. You see, like, out to there, so you don't have to drop it right next to it. But when you drop this stuff, it comes unmanned, okay? And this is important because, and it's munitions. Any of these drops, they all, if you look, 70 munitions, 70 munitions, 77 munitions, 120 munitions. So it comes down to the crate, unmanned, right?
Air resupply
Now,
is
what's
now
important
available.
here is you're going to most likely have some engineers, or at least a set of engineers laying around that are not airborne troops, but they're from the, you know, the Doctrine when you start off before you have airborne stuff unlocked. Reason that you want these guys around is, number one, they can do a lot of stuff that the 82nd Airborne engineers can't do, like repair vehicles, you know, and build a bunch of other stuff that they can't do, like, you know, these munition caches and what have you. But these guys are also very cheap to reinforce. So I usually always keep a set near this forward headquarters so that I can man stuff. So then once I man things, I can go ahead and reinforce with 16 manpower. It's very cheap. Whereas, you know, so that's why. Now if you sit there and you can use riflemen too, but they cost more. You don't want to be using easy company, who's going to cost you a shit ton to reinforce, or any of these other airborne troops. They reinforce ultra slow because they're elite troops basically, and they cost a shit ton to reinforce. So it's not something you want to do. The reason I dropped this howitzer is it is a very good piece. However, right now it's not working properly, and I don't think they're aware of it. But this howitzer, if you look, has the HE precision barrage, which is nice, and I don't want these guys to blow up everything. That would be bad. But they have the HE precision barrage, which is great. It's got pretty good distance. It is a 75mm, so this thing will do some damage. But it also, it says veteran level 2, you get high explosive anti-tank heat barrage. And at veteran level 1, you get white phosphorus barrage, which is super, super great. But unfortunately, you can't veteran level this howitzer up. There's no veteran stars. You can't do it. It's pretty unfortunate. And I'm not sure why. I don't care if any of this stuff dies, honestly, because I'm almost out of command points anyway. But yeah, that howitzer needs to be fixed so that you can actually use it the way it's meant to be used, because it's extremely effective when you can use it against tanks and white phosphorus. And I mean, just even the 75 millimeter regular barrage that it does, it will tear a base up in no time, and it will definitely harass dug-in enemies. So, at any rate, well, that's why I showed you that. So that's, again, it's an old doctrine. They probably have to go back and fix that. I don't think they're even aware of it, or if they are, they're just, because they're constantly adding new doctrines, I don't think they're going back with these old ones that are functional and correcting every little thing on them, you know, until they're completely done. They might hot fix that, though. At any rate, the other thing on this engineer track part of the tech tree here is munitions drop. And let's unlock that. And what it simply is 200 fuel for munitions, and I think it's maybe for 100 munitions. I don't remember. Maybe it's 200 munitions. Let's see. Doesn't say, but I'll know when I pick them up. But yeah, it's actually extremely important upgrade. Yeah, I think it's for, and we're gonna grab it up here. It was for 200, so it's 200 fuel for 200 munitions. Fuel is so unimportant in this doctrine because you use munitions to drop all of these things out of your little forward base. You use munitions to put weapons on everything, and you're going to use munitions for all your planes. So that is a very important unlock. As time goes on, you're going to need that one. And you also see when I did that, here's the easy company I'm clicked on right now. When I did that upgrade to allow all the drops from the forward headquarters, I did get my 3 captured Panzerfaust as well. Alright, so we looked at the munitions drop. There's only one thing left on this top tech tree, and it's actually a troop. And this is the 101st Airborne Parachute Infantry. These are infantry veterans armed with Thompsons, M1, Grands, and bazookas. Now, these guys are 330. I'm not quite sure why they're so far down on the tech tree. I would like to have seen them a little closer on the tech tree, because as time goes on with this doctrine, you don't want riflemen. Riflemen are great because they have, you know, a bunch of capabilities. If you can put a 30 cal on them, or you can maybe put a bazooka on them. But really, the only thing a rifleman has going for it in this doctrine, because they only go up to level 3, the only thing they really have going for them is the fact that they have rifle grenades, and which is pretty nice, right? That's one of the things that make the U.S. riflemen such a great troop, is because they do have rifle grenades. And they are versatile, right? And you know, they have sticky bombs and they have other stuff. If you go with the bazooka side of things, you get the anti-tank rifle grenade, which is great against light vehicles because it really never misses. And you can get sticky bombs, but they're still not going to be as good against, and a bazooka, of course, but they're not going to be as good against, you know, vehicles as these airborne are. So, going back to this is late in the tech tree. And you would have had to spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points just to get, you know, to this point, assuming you skipped all this other stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and unlock them. Now these guys, even though it says parachute infantry, they actually come out of, they're the final thing here. And my cat just ran across the room. They're the final thing in this platoon command post. So we'll go ahead and unlock them. They're 330. So they're in line with riflemen that are 300. But these are definitely the airborne replacement for riflemen. The only thing they're lacking is going to be the rifle grenade, which is not going to be all that important realistically once you have these guys built. They are airborne, so they are able to reinforce at a beacon, which is great. You can reinforce them, you know, up forward.
Everyone here?
There they come. They are a 6-man squad. They come in with level 1 veterancy, and they can go to level 4. So again, they're gonna outperform your riflemen. You can upgrade them because they come with just M1 Grands and I think a Thompson off the bat, right? There's a Thompson and some M1 Grands, right? So they're gonna be good at a distance with the M1 Grands. These are a nice long-range troop, and they do have the Thompson in case you get, you know, down and dirty and close. But you can upgrade these guys with 2 bars and then put a bazooka on there. So now you have a troop that's good against tanks, you can fight up close with them, because even bars you can fire on the run, which is pretty cool about a bar. And they still have a couple of M1 Grants for long distance. And the bars are still decent at long distance. So these guys are going to lay down a lot of fire with the 2 automatic weapons firing, you know, the 2 bars firing and the M1 Grands. Again, they will pull out the bazooka. They don't have it out automatically like the other Airborne. They will pull it out when the tank comes, which again makes them more effective against troops. You will see they do have smoke, which means you can, you know, you don't have it on a rifle grenade, but you can throw it and you can use it for assault. They can reinforce at the beacon, as I said, which makes them really good. And they also get a dynamite charge. Now these guys can throw the smoke and then run up and throw the dynamite charge while the smoke is covering them. So that's pretty nice. And again, they do come out at level 1. Alright, so what I'm going to do here, because I'm about to be out of command points, we are going to run these guys over here. And I'm going to get rid of these riflemen. And I'm going to throw these guys here. And I'm just going to get rid of some of the stuff. And oh, and also with these, the Parish infantry we just talked about, you can build a lot of those. I don't remember how many, but I mean minimum of 2, but I think you can build like just unlimited amounts. It's like I said, it kind of replaces the riflemen. Just hold fire. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use good old General McClank or whatever, or old Croc here. And I'm going to use his withdraw troop option and send some of these guys away, because I'm going to run out of... Yeah, riflemen pretty useless at this point. I'll even send away one of these Easy Company. Now, the other reason I sent away one of the Airborne and one of the Easy Company, you can see you can't call it a new Easy Company even if you lose one of these.
Ready. Send orders.
You cannot. So that actually kind of sucks, right? Because without, let's call this out here real quick. Okay, we're gonna jump out of here.
Everybody out. Let's go.
Let's just get rid of this. No, use the salvage.
Good to go.
But at any rate, you cannot. So if you lose one of your Easy Company, you don't get a second. You can't call in another copy of it until you lose all of them. Same thing goes for the, oh no, Airborne. I guess you can call in a second. Wow, that's nice. I never knew that. So that's really great. You can call in a second set of the 82nd Airborne if you lose at least one set. So that is honestly super kick-ass, because they're really, really great troops. All right.
Get ready for action, gang.
Let's get rid of all these guys. All right, so we're doing pretty good. All right, so we've taken a look at all that, right? All the troop options, and that is all the troop options. There are 2 other things you could do with the Airborne. There is, because you really can't build any armor. If you remember, you can only build M4 A3 Shermans, and as far as I know, you can build an unlimited amount. But against big cats, you're going to need a lot of them to take them out. Even though you really shouldn't be wasting your money on armor, at least not a lot of it, with this Doctrine, because you're going to have other things, like your troops, for one, that can really screw up things. But really, the air is going to do that. But again, because you can't really build any armor, you do have 2 armor call-ins. They are a lot of points. You have 3 points here and 2 points here. So it's, you know, to get these call-ins, you're gonna have to drop some points, and they are, you know, decently expensive. But we'll take a look at the first one, and this is the 10th Armored Combat Command B, and you're gonna get 2 veteran 76er Shermans. Alright, so go ahead and unlock that, and this is a call-in. It's 936 manpower, or 36, whatever, you know, I mean, population cap, but it's 900. They are veterans. You can call them in.
Tank support is here. Sherman ready.
Now, 76ers, as you know, I'm sure, are probably one of the better tanks in the game. They're super well-rounded. They can penetrate just about anything except for the huge, you know, like even elephants and stuff, as long as you get them from the, the rear and stuff, you can put a hole in them. An HVAP with them is really deadly. But they're quick enough. They have enough punch and range to really take on just about anything. 76ers are pretty damn good. Now these come standard with the 50 cal upgrade already on them. They have the HE and the HVAP already unlocked. And of course they have smoke. These guys cannot exit the vehicles, so I'm not going to be able to get rid of these guys. Basically they come with the repair. So they have a veteran crew. As you can see, they're level 1. They have a veteran crew, so they can't automatically go into camouflage, by the way, which is nice. So you can put that on. But also,
let's get to it.
They do have the automatic repair.
Button her up.
So, and again, you're not going to have a lot of things running around that repair these vehicles, because the only thing that can is your standard engineers, which as time goes on, you're not going to probably have a lot of those laying around. You might have one here to to jump on 50 cals or whatever. But at any rate, it is it's a very nice call-in. There you go. You can't build 76ers, but you can call 2 of them in. If you lose one, you cannot call in another group. You have to wait till both are dead. And that I know for sure. So, at any rate, the other call-in that you have here, that is armor-related, is the 2 M10 Wolverines from the 773rd Tank Hunter Dispatch, or Battalion. So these guys, what you're going to do is be able to call in 2, they're not veteran, but they are 2 M10 Wolverines, and the Wolverines cannot, they also have that repair ability, even though they're not a veteran crew, so you can't withdraw them. So I'm not going to bother bringing them in just because the pop cap's so high. And you do get a 50 cal truck comes with them. So there you have that. Oh, but we've got issues here. Come on, moron.
Gear up and move out. Driver.
See, I built all these tank traps and stuff, because I'm a big fan of tank traps, and I love building defenses, but I'm going to put these guys specifically on armor duty, because I don't want them
Let's get it done, boys.
blowing up
Crew, get on it.
the base and then ending it. Yeah, because we're almost done. But at any rate, so yeah, there's the Tank Hunter Battalion, and the same thing. If one of these M10 gets blown up, you cannot build another one, or call them in again, and so you lose them both. And you cannot cheat and disembark the crew and then call in another group. Again, these come with the repair ability, so there is no disembarking the crew whatsoever. So, what really makes this doctrine great, besides, they have some really cool, almost all of their troops are some sort of specialty troop, or like an elite, basically. Even to a minor degree, they're still pretty much an elite. You have planes. That's your other big thing here. And of course you get a recon plane. It's cost 70, and you're gonna have munitions drop, as I said. So 70 munitions won't be anything, but it's a high altitude recon plane. They can't shoot it down. It lingers around for a while, so it's nice. You also get, so I'm not gonna bother to do it. You've seen a million of those. One bad thing is, too, they have to fix. When you call, for some reason, when you unlock recon plane, it pops up here between your troops, and then it moves everything over, and it covers up your manpower, so you can't see how much manpower you have. So this has to be moved up to the top row, where the rest of the planes will end up. But at any rate, the next thing is a P-47 Thunderbolt. This is a great unlock. It's 150. It's really only good against troops and light vehicles. You've seen these strafes before. The thing that is great about this is it has a very fast cooldown. It will hunt. I don't think I can blow up the base. Oh god, there's nothing left here. Sheesh. Yeah, unfortunately they're not rebuilding their base, so I'm not going to call it in. But it's just, your 50 cal strafe run. It will chew up all these light vehicles, and it, pins troops. And so it's great support if you're getting charged by a bunch of troops, or if your tanks are under attack, whatever, and, your 76ers and they're bringing in whatever. You know how it works. It's just a really good, quick cooldown inexpensive, you know, plane calling. The next thing you have is the P-47 Thunderbolt. They call it tactical bombing run. It's 225. It is powerful. It's two 500-kilogram bombs or whatever, but it is very inaccurate. And I'll just call it in just to give you an example. You cannot, of course, none of these planes can be called in the base for some reason. With other doctrines they can, but they don't let you do it with U.S. Airborne. But right here, we're going to center this thing up. We're going to make it come from the left. We'll make it come from the left. And the center of this is kind of in the middle of the flag. So you can see it's like a strip. So you're not really sure where the bombs are going to land. I would think, will they land in the middle? They don't. They may, but they land kind of in. Like, see, this one landed here in the front. This is where it landed, way over here. So it didn't land anywhere near the center or the end. So when you're trying to target a tank, you put that big strip over a tank, you may only stun it. You may miss it completely. You may hit it dead on. It's not very good. It's got a long cooldown too, 325 seconds. It's not very good. It sucks really overall. It's my least favorite of any of the air raid anything in any of the doctrines that have air support. I hope they fix this because it really does suck. And it's important because, again, you're not typically going to have a lot of vehicles. And you could say, well, I can unlock my 76ers. Well, you have to. Your points are going to be spread all over. You're going to be doing troops because you need these good troops, and you're going to be doing planes and other stuff. You know, I guess you can go right for like 76ers or something. But again, you only get 2 against a Tiger or something, or if they have planes or whatever it could be. You might be down to 1 before you know it, and then you're really going to need these planes. So, shitty cooldown, bad accuracy, not a fan of it. Now, there are 2 more options here, and I'm not sure why they did this one next at the end of the run. But this is a rocket strafe, and it's 250 as well. Well, that one's 225. So, yeah, this one's 250. Now, this is a very good one. It's got a super long cooldown as well, but this rocket strafe, planes come from 2 different directions and strafe the living shit out of whatever they're targeting. And so you're a Tiger or a King Tiger, I don't give a shit what you are. IS-2, you're dead. If I can get you with both of these planes coming from 2 different directions, you're dead. Or at least crippled to the point where you might as well be dead. Super effective, but you can only target, it will only target tanks. So that's it. There's no tanks to target here, so I'm not even going to bother to use it. But it's very good. And for the price, the 250, it's great. Considering this other one's 225 and it's trash. So that is a great attack. And then lastly, you have the air superiority with P-47s. What it does is it blends all 3 of these down here. The 50 cal strafe, the precision bombing or the tactical bombing run, and the strafe. It puts them all together. Again, you can't call it in the base. I will try to get this as close as I can and call it in. But this is my... it looks like the circle of influence will touch these idiots. Calling it in. This is, to me, the deadliest of all the air abilities that exist. And again, you're going to get all of the abilities. The 50 cal strafing runs. You're going to see the 2 planes coming from different directions. They're bombing. And see, the difference here with this bombing run is you're not laying a strip. They're just auto-targeting stuff. And look, they're still strafing, rockets are coming in. Yeah, this is a nightmare. I don't care what doctrine you are. This is a nightmare for whatever you are. You think you're going to run in with your King Tiger or whatever. This will destroy anything. it is the biggest nightmare of big cats, especially slow-moving big cats. And the cooldown is long, but 411 seconds left. But yeah, it's not so long that you won't be able to get it quicker than they can build another King Tiger or some crap. So that's really the ultimate ability with these guys. And again, you can have guys in ambush all over the place, and these guys go open level quick, especially if you have this old croc with them. It's my favorite doctrine. I've always loved it. But even on Blitzkrieg mod, I didn't like it on Spearhead mod. I didn't like the way they had their setup, honestly. I liked other things they did. I just didn't like their Airborne. But yeah, I loved it on Blitzkrieg mod, Europe at War, and this Wikinger, of course. But it's a super cool doctrine. It's one of the old ones. I mean, they have to go back and do a little bit of reworking on some of the stuff. But just a great doctrine, a lot of fun. It's a big cat killer. It takes a while to get going because none of this stuff is cheap. For one, you're gonna be blowing a lot of manpower, and you have to really be cautious of, do I invest in more airborne style troops, or do I start going for the planes? Do I want to croc early? So this is a doctrine where you really have to make some pretty hard choices. Where in other doctrines, I mean, I play them almost the same way every time. I'm going straight for, like Rifle Doc. I'm going straight for the rifle sections to get the quick reinforce, quick cheap reinforce, and get my Woolly Pete. I have a pretty standard way of playing them. These guys, you might need to adapt a little bit. Armor Doc, I typically always go for cheap Shermans and mass production Shermans. That way, if all else fails, I can just pump out a bunch of M4A3s at $200 a pop within 30 seconds, a tank, and just run them all over the place. But this is a little bit different of a doctrine. Again, it does require a little bit more decision making. A lot of it is maybe based on what you're up against. So that's the Airborne doc. Any questions, concerns, anything, feel free to leave a comment. I'd appreciate it. And whether you loved it, hated it, whatever. Sorry it ran a little bit long. There's just a lot to kind of go over in this doctrine. But that's it. And I think I'm going to go back and maybe do all these old doctrines that I've never done, and because a lot of them have changed. And like one more thing about this doctrine, it used to have a high altitude B-52 bombing obliteration ability, where high altitude B-52 bombers would carpet bomb a huge area. It was the most devastating thing ever. I mean, it would level half the goddamn map. That thing was so goddamn great. I loved it. They got rid of that. I guess it was just too OP, but wow, was that a great ability. But if you haven't played this in a while, they don't have that anymore. So again, these doctrines do kind of change a little as time goes on. They even went to a point where all the airborne troops were tied to one timer, which sucked. So they went back and took that off and put it back to where the individual timers for the airborne troops and stuff again. So they're always tweaking the different abilities and things. But again, that's it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.